Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being with us today. I'm Alessandro Capitani, and I'm Senior Marketing Consultant for Video Progetti in Italy. Video Progetti is a big system integrator and product reseller in Italy, and we are proud to be master dealers for distributing this product in Europe. So the advanced image robotic AIR One camera is a quite unique product. It offers a number of features that I think are very interesting. I know quite well the camera. I could have presented something myself, but in order to be more exhaustive in presenting the camera, I thought it was the case to invite with us Mr. Nick Nordquist, which is the co-founder and chief product officer for Advanced Image Robotics. And so he's much better placed than me for presenting the AR camera. So, Nick, the word to you. If you can introduce why you have developed this fantastic product, what it has to offer, and the main features, that's fine. Up to you.
Yeah, I will have no problem talking about all of the neat little features we have put into the AIR One camera system or robot. And a lot of times what will happen is people look at the robot and think it's just a product, but really what we've done here is designed an ecosystem to help producers be able to create programming in a new way, to be able to leverage things like Ethernet in a way that is very cost effective compared to how we've done production in the past.
In the meanwhile, on the right, we see the actual product for our viewers.
That's
so
the robot.
They understand, that's a robot with the camera.
Yeah. So basically what it is it is a digital cinema camera on a 3-axis robotic arm. So these are kind of the 3 elements of the AIR ecosystem. The one on the left there is the AIR One robot. That's as I said, the smart camera. Gimbal stabilized, so it's self-leveling. You pull it out of the box and set it up in literally like 60 to 90 seconds. You can be rolling. The AIR One app is the touchscreen control for the robot. And the neat thing about that is you can control that robot from anywhere on the planet. The system's designed so that when you plug the robot into an Ethernet network with a broadband connection and you plug the iPad in similarly to an Ethernet connection with a connection to the outside world, those 2 devices can connect and you can control it. If you're within about 2,000 kilometers of the robot itself with your control screen, it's no different than being on site. So it gives you some really powerful tools to kind of defy geography in a way, if you would.
So and then it's a plug and play device at the end of the show.
Plug and play, and that's I was in television production for 30 years, and one of the things that always made me crazy is nothing talked to anything else, and it was always really difficult to get things to work together. That is kind of our North Star, if you will, for the AIR One ecosystem, is to make sure that everything talks and that it's really easy to use. Drag and drop for setup. The Air Cloud that you see on the right there is our orchestration layer that kind of lives over the top, that automates the shoot planning and setup and connections and permissions. Basically, what we do is take all of the complexity of a IT-based production and put all that complexity under the hood, so that you as a producer can focus on the thing that you're there to do, which is to kind of tell the story.
Okay. One question about the application and the ecosystem. All the software that comes together with the camera is bundled. Mm-hmm. You have no additional license cost.
Yeah, correct. So when you buy the AIR One robot, it comes with, and we'll get into the details of what's in there later. It comes with the control iPad. It comes with the robot. It comes in a shipping case. You literally can just take it out of the box and shoot. Okay. So you can use that on a LAN with no other with no other anything, basically. If you want to connect to the outside world and use the orchestration layer in the AIR Cloud and use a bunch of the automation, you do need an AIR Cloud subscription for that. That aspect of it, but it's either or. It just, one of the things we've tried to do with the AIR ecosystem is it's an ecosystem and you can use everything if you want, or if you just want to use one component of that, you can do that as well. Like, for instance, we have a lot of tier ones here in the US that are rolling a big broadcast truck. They're not really doing REMI. They're doing everything on-prem. They still use the robot and the control iPad, but they're doing that just strictly over a LAN because they're pulling to a truck.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
And so why? Anybody in the business knows it's expensive to do live multicam production. And we've come up with a way that is better, simpler, and radically reduces those costs, because you're able to use commodity hardware like Ethernet as opposed to dedicated video hardware. And that not only radically simplifies the setup and the cost, but it also lessens the footprint of people and gear that you have to bring on site, because the robot is completely self-contained. You don't need any additional encoders. Literally all you need on-prem is you need a broadband connection to the outside world, and everything else can take place remote. This is the robot. We'll get a look at it over here in a minute, but digital cinema camera. The base model is micro four thirds. You can actually interchange that entire module that's there in the robot. The entire camera platform and lens slides out, and you can put a full frame 6K in there, a Super 35 6K. You can even put an 8K full frame camera module in there, and everything else stays the same. Your controls stay the same. All of your AIR Cloud system stays the same. Your software all stays the same. You can also, on any of the models, not only can you interchange the lenses, but you can also interchange the mount. So say you have a micro four thirds version of the camera on there, you can take off 4 bolts and put on an EF mount, for instance, if you wanted to use that. So the robot is super flexible, and as I said earlier, fully self-contained. So there are multiple streams that come out of it. You can record internally, you can stream directly from there, and then you also have a control stream that goes to the iPad for control.
You have also a version of the AIR One which is for Sony cameras, correct?
Yes. So the one we'll be talking about today is the AIR One for the Z-Cam. The AIR One X, which will be coming out this winter, is for the Sony FX3, FX30 Alpha One. Okay. That has been deployed in the field for about 6 months. We've been doing some early, I don't want to say field testing, because the thing's actually shooting. We had 10 robots at the Olympics. We did the Final Four here in the US. We've done a bunch of UFC fights here as well with it. And so we're putting kind of the final touches on the software controls for that one.
Okay.
AIR One bundle. So this is what you get in the kit. You literally can take this thing out of the box and shoot. Like I said, it takes 60 to 90 seconds to set up. If your Ethernet is already and power is already pulled to wherever you're setting up the camera, the kit includes the AIR One robot, the Z-Cam M4, micro four thirds, 4K, Panasonic 14-140 lens. You get the zoom motor, the gearing, the mount, a quick release plate. You get an iPad is included. The software for the iPad's included, power supply, and the whole thing fits in that case that you see right there that fits in an overhead bin on an airplane. So super small footprint to not only get it there, but also to set it up. The AIR app, which we'll see here in a minute, comes with. It is super intuitive touchscreen. This is, from my perspective, this is a much better way to control a camera than a joystick. It's so much more intuitive. You can do things that are very difficult to do with a joystick, like, for instance, easing to a stop or doing micro adjustments of where the camera is pointed. I just find it I find it much more enjoyable to shoot with the touchscreen. So we do have an integration with Scarhoy coming down the pipe here soon, where if you want a joystick, you'll be able to use the Scarhoy.
In fact, this is an important aspect, because many customers asks for a traditional joystick interface. So the fact that you
Yes.
allow both the choice from the customer of having one or the other, it's important. That's fine. Okay. Do you have
For
also
sure,
APIs?
because
Do you have also APIs that you
yes,
can offer? Okay.
yes. Yeah, so we also
So
have APIs. So if you want to build something custom to talk to the robot, you can do that. I mean, just because I prefer the touchscreen on iPad doesn't mean that you, as the customer, have to prefer it. If you're
sure.
comfortable with the joystick and you want to do that, I want to give you, or we want to give you, whatever tools work for you to, accomplish the
Okay.
task at hand.
Good.
So flexibility is important. We'll get into the Air Cloud later, but the idea here is that this is how you set up your shoot. You have a site plan that you upload. You drag and drop the robots where you want them to go, drag and drop who's controlling it, and then you drag and drop what switcher you want all those cameras routed to. Comms are also integrated in there, and there's also asset management to upload your video clips that are recorded in camera after the fact. We'll pass along this deck to you. You can see some of the Air Cloud in action.
Sure. Sure.
This is some footage from the Paris Olympics. Some of the stuff that was captured with the Air Cam. On the lower right here, you can see this is the fencing venue, and I don't know that you can even see it, but up here, kind of up here in the grid, this little tiny dot up there is where the AIR One robot
Camera.
was hung.
Yeah.
For that. Yeah. Final Four we were at this year. This was really kind of neat because this was our first really large national event. And you can see there's your slash cam there from your traditional broadcast camera. And then there's our AIR One robot down in the corner, taking up very little footprint and being controlled from the back room as well.
Sure.
Done a bunch of UFC fights as well, and a bunch of other stadium sports. You can see a number of these on our YouTube channel, where we have basically a number of videos that showcase the robot being used in different circumstances. So
Fantastic.
That's kind of the quick overview of what we are. Again, we have a product or products
sure.
that are the robots, but the solution is kind of the big picture.
And now we can show something, real, because we have prepared for our viewers a demonstration about how the camera works. So we can see the iPad app control surface with you acting, and we can see in real time the camera moving on the lower left corner, and the actual stream of the camera, which is impressive. So I see a very smooth and natural movement. It's kind of analog. And I would like to make a comparison between the app, iPad app, and one thing that I used a long time ago, which was the first version of the iPod. When I used the iPod the first time, I felt that every item in the menu were exactly where I was supposed to find it, and everything was natural. I didn't need any instruction manual. And when I saw your application on the iPad, I have the same feeling. So everything is very well designed and very user friendly. And also the fact that the movement is very smooth is quite quite unique. I think here plays a role the intelligence inside the camera, isn't it?
Yeah. So what we're trying to do here is make a robot that moves like a human camera operator would do. I mean, that has kind of been my complaint about traditional PTZ cameras all along, is they don't really have a very organic movement. They feel very robotic. And what we're doing here with the AIR One is changing that, where you have this much more kind of organic feel to the robot's movement. When you go up on a diagonal, you'll see it move smooth. A lot of other robotics, you're going to see they do a little kind of step as they go up on the diagonal. It's because we're using a different technology really to control and move the camera, because it's gimbal stabilized. So here we have another one down along the bottom here. You see the presets. So I can come in and, preset any one of these moves, and the robot will do a very nice, precise, smooth movement back to that position. It'll also, if I have one set to go fast, it'll also fly to that position and usually kind of stick the mark very closely. But again, the thing I love about this is I can actually take this camera hot. Unlike most other PTZs, you can't really take them. You can't really take them hot because they don't really move in an organic way. Like if I wanted to do a little, smooth little pan across here from one place to the other, and I have that slow preset, I can come in, take this shot hot, and it's going to ease to a stop, just like a real camera operator would do.
So you can have presets that you can use live in production because they are slow, they are very natural, human-like, and others that are offline that are just for moving quickly from one situation to the other, isn't it?
Yeah. So let me show you how that works. So say I wanted to get a close-up of, okay, here we go. We got some flags over here. These are from our trip to IBC last year. Say that's a position that I want to return to. Down along the bottom here, I have up to 40 different presets, and that's for each camera. So by the way, you can control up to 6 different robots from any one iPad, and each one has 40 presets. So I can come in here and by just long pressing down here on the bottom, I get the little pop-up to set my recall, and I can set the speed at which it's going to return to that. Okay. Generally, I'll do a slow one and a fast one as well, so that if I just want to get back to the position quickly, I can. And then if I move off and do that recall, it's a double tap on the button. In general, most things on the app are double tap to do something automatic. Like say, for instance, I wanted to focus on a particular position. I just double tap in order to execute that focus. Or to do this move back to position 15, I just double tap that and it's going to do that recall kind of naturally. The same thing for a bunch of the settings. If I want to turn something on automatically, like here's the white balance. You see how that's blue? If I double tap it on and off, I'm toggling on and off the auto white balance. Same thing goes for the auto ISO up here on the upper left. I can toggle that on and off. These buttons down the left here control what this slider does. So if I want to, focus, if I want to zoom, here's my zoom. I just toggle that button. If I want to focus, I can grab that focus setting or focus slider, and I can control it, the focus via the slider. I can also do iris, up and down, and same thing goes for ISO. So again, one of the things I love about the automation that we do is if, like, say I want to adjust this ISO, it will, as soon as I hit that button, if I go to some manual movement, it's automatically going to put it in manual ISO for me. And again, I just double tap it to return it back to where it was. Here's your record, start, stop. I don't have a card in this particular camera, so I can't record, but here's your record settings for your internal record. Here's your streaming settings for whatever endpoint you're going to stream to. Over SRT is primarily what we use for that. 1080 or 4K, anywhere from 24 to 60 frames per second. You can set your bit rate and latency based on what you need. Here's your basic color controls.
You have full control of the settings of the camera from the application, basically. Yeah.
Absolutely. Everything that you need to control on the camera is here. And again, another thing that's always made me crazy is how buried deep certain things are in the menus. Anything you're going to be adjusting dynamically on the fly while you're shooting is not more than one menu deep. Switching control between cameras is all just right there. Here's your various image settings. Rec 709, of course, but you can also do, if you're doing an HDR workflow, you can also put it in HLG mode for that. So you can actually, from the robot with nothing else involved, you can do a 4K 60 HDR production.
Very nice. And so back to our control movement, you have also embedded a feature which you call teledamping that takes in consideration also the focal length, so allows you to have smooth movements also depending on the let's explain. And this is part of the intelligence of the system, if I remember
Yeah.
well.
So let me show you. I'm going to show you one of the other robots right here. Let me do a little push into that guy. So this is one of the other robots. So down here on the focus control, if I long press this, you see that's where my teledampening is. The other thing that's kind of always made me crazy about PTZs is that when I zoom in to the long end of the lens, the picture tends to kind of wobble like this because my field of view is narrowing and I'm trying to move it with a joystick, and it's really hard to do a smooth crash zoom or even a smooth kind of lateral zoom movement. I just find that very difficult because the field of view is narrowing as you zoom in. So one of the things we put in here is this teledampening feature. So if you watch what happens here with this robot, I'm going to go full wide and I'm going to move this thing, I'm moving this on another iPad. I'm going to move it full speed and watch how it slows down as it zooms in there and speeds up as it zooms out. So the robot actually knows what focal length you're at and will throttle its movement based on that focal length of the lens. So if I'm super tight zoomed in and I want to do a nice little slow adjustment here, I can do nice little simple moves like that. Whereas if I'm wide, there's a very kind of intuitive one-to-one
Yeah, I see. It's
movement
proportional, let's
compared.
say, to the focal length in any way.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, very nice. So I see this Emmy Awards. So I forgot to mention
Yeah.
that you have a long experience in production. You won 11 Emmy Awards, which is congratulations
Yes.
for your career.
Oof.
But you have
Thank
put
you.
your experience into the camera. That's something that worth to be mentioned.
Yeah, one of the things that's really neat about this project and being able to do it. So my background is as a filmmaker. I've spent 30 years making all kinds of different TV shows. And I kind of put 30 years, I don't want to say frustration, but 30 years of experience and things that I felt like could be better into this product. I've always hated how much time and energy and money it costs to to set stuff up. I've always disliked the complexity of a setup, and the basic stuff that we're doing for IT based production is super powerful and eliminates a bunch of those problems, but it's insanely difficult to use. So that's kind of the whole origin of the Air Cloud, which we can talk about now if you want, where
Yeah.
we simplify
Before
that setup and operation.
Before jumping to a cloud, I would like to have a little demonstration of a real case that you sent me, Monster Jam, about how you control the camera. And maybe you
Yeah,
can comment this live
sure.
because it shows how the control is actually smooth and easy from the operator.
Yeah. So one of the questions that comes up is, can I, long end of the lens, can I use a touchscreen to, control something and track a fast moving object? This is a great example. This was a shoot that we did up at SoFi Stadium in LA. Beautiful facility where they had, this is the qualifications for Monster Jam. So big monster truck event that tours all over the U.S. There's another one that tours in Europe. They also have our cameras on that tour, or I should say, our robots on that tour. And so we're up in the press booth. We've got a couple of robots right there in front of us, and while we were on site, which makes for a nice illustration, video wise. I just as easily could have shot that from here in San Diego as up there in LA.
So next time we can speak a bit more about our cloud.
Okay. So this is the Air Cloud interface, and basically what this is a orchestration layer is what I like to call it. It enables you to set up your camera positions, your permissions, all of the resources for your crew for an individual project. So this is the overview page here where I can come and see all of my collaborators on the project, who's on the crew. I can email them individually or as a group. Basic information about the shoot, when it's happening, what dates it runs. I can put links down here to various resources for the crew to click onto. The cool part happens when we get into the shoot setup. So this is a little setup that we did at NAB last year before, free kick challenge. So this was a soccer, basically a cage with a soccer goal or football goal to you guys, where people would kick, and we were streaming from 3 of our cameras to Viz Vector switcher running in the Amazon cloud. This was a demo that we did with AWS. So basically how this works is everything is drag and drop. So I'm going to delete a couple of things out of here so we can kind of start from scratch. So this canvas is basically just a site plan that I can upload as a background, and then I can drag and drop my cameras to position them where I want them to go. I literally can just kind of take them there, point them wherever I want them to go, and then put, as an operator, whoever I want to be able to control that. I can put multiple people as well. Like if I have multiple operators that are going to get in and control a camera over a course of a production, I can permit multiple people. You can only obviously have one controlling the robot at any given time, and there's software in the iPad to control who has the con at any given time. But same thing goes for my switcher. So I have a bunch of different switcher instances that I can target. Now, simply by dragging and dropping that Viz Vector instance there, all of my robots are now routed to that. Their video and audio streams are automatically routed to go to that Viz Vector switching instance based on their camera number. They go to a particular port. So you can see here, it's auto updating. Watch what happens to that port number as I change the camera number. Whoops. You'll see it changes.
Yes. Yeah, I see.
So once I hit that now, this camera now knows, or this robot now knows, it is supposed to send that camera stream to port 5004, which is the input for camera number 4 in that Viz Vector cloud instance. Where that comes in super handy is here where I go to the launch pad where Nick or whomever is operating that camera, wherever they are. They could be on-prem, they could be at home, they could be in a REMI network operation center, wherever they are. They come into their iPad, and all they need to do is just double click on that instance. Whoops, that one's not permitted. Let me jump this one here. So when they double click on that, what happens is it pushes the IP address of the camera, the internal record setting and frame rate, what streaming destination they're setting, to what frame rate they're streaming at.
Yeah, I see.
All of that stuff pushes through deep linking.
What if you have a mixed environment with the people that uses the AIR One and other stuff? Can you use this tool also for the traditional environment?
Yeah, so what you use, if you have some other type of encoder, I mean, the reason we can do the deep linking is because we have a smart robot. It has a brain in it that we can talk to and send instructions. If you have a device that isn't necessarily smart, you can still mix and match it. You just have to manually input those particular settings for the robot. I'm sorry, for the whatever camera you're streaming from.
Yeah, I see.
One of the other things that's kind of neat about this that we just put in, so when it comes time to change these camera settings, like say your shoot currently, you are going to stream 4K, and all of a sudden they decided, oh no, you only want to record internally 4K and you want to stream in 1080. So you can come in and do group changes to all the cameras with a single click here. So I can come in and say, okay, I want to record 4K, 25 frames per second in ProRes internally, and then I want to stream 1080, 25. When I hit that, it's going to do a uniform change to all of those robots. So very quickly, I can change a shoot and change the provisioning on the camera just with, a single interface. I can change a bunch of different things. Okay. Some of the other stuff, we saw the launch pad where, we can click and launch through the deep linking. We also have our comms page here. So we have sync stage. These are amazingly low latency comms, about 35 milliseconds. It is lower latency than a phone call in your communication for the crew. So that's built in here within the Air Cloud and built in the app. So if you look at our app, if I tap this little button in the lower right hand corner, I get the sync stage comms and my one pane of glass. I can get into my comms as well as control my camera. Some of the other things we have here, one of the things I love that we've created here is called the Master Status Dashboard. So what's neat about this thing is here I have real-time data about all of my cameras.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So for instance, if I go in here, let me bounce over to one of my other cameras with a card in it, and I'm going to press record. I need to be controlling it. Press record. So what'll happen now is that I pressed record on there. You'll see here in the record setting, it pop up and turn red so that we know that it's recording. But all of my information about all my cameras, not only where it might be streaming, but also the ISO, shutter, white balance, f-stop, all of that is on one pane of glass here. And that makes it it gives me a powerful tool for when I'm setting up, for when I look at Robot Carlsbad and I look up Chinook and I'm like, why don't those two cameras match? I can go in here and go, oh, well, my white balance is off in there. So I very quickly can go in, make sure all of my camera settings match, and then on one pane of glass, compare them to make sure that they're all synchronized, and same thing when it's rolling. So if all of a sudden one of these cameras goes green and it's not recording, I have this master status to let me know that it's stopped. There's also information about what API the robot's running, what version of firmware the cameras are running, and then various information about the robot brain itself.
Yeah. Also, you can detect at a glance if there are differences, let's say in color balance and other parameters that can affect, the shooting.
For sure. Say for instance, I wanted to come in and tweak the color balance on this one that's at 33. I'm gonna turn that guy up a bit, and we should see it. You can change the speed at which this updates. Typically, we do it about every 5 seconds, so it does take 5 or 10 seconds before it updates. But again, I find this to be just a super, super powerful tool for setting up and then keeping my eye on all of the technical aspects of my cameras while we're in the midst of a shoot. And it also helps. The other thing it really helps is to prevent bad things from happening before they actually occur. Like we had a robot on a demo on the East Coast, an early prototype that was on the East Coast being demoed with a big national broadcaster here. And I happened to just randomly pull up the master status dashboard, and I look on the right here, and my CPU load is running at like 85%, which it should never be anywhere near that. So I was able to get on the phone, call our CTO and say, hey, take a look at, the robot Bravo that's on the East Coast. What's going on with the CPU load? Our CTO was able to get in there, look at what the robot was doing and go, oh, there's some software running on there that shouldn't be, pull it off and fix it before it created any problems. Yeah. So, it's really that's one of the things about live production. There's so many things that can go wrong. It's great to have some tools to prevent those things from going wrong before they actually happen.
Okay. So before closing our call, you have been absolutely super exhaustive, and thank you for that. We have a couple of questions from our viewers that I would like to reply. First one is from, I think it's Germany, Jochen. Does the camera support NDI or other IP video protocols?
Yeah, so it natively streams SRT. So from the robot itself, you can stream SRT. There's another stream you can also put out over the LAN called SSP. That's what we were using here today. That was the feed that you saw displayed in your in our multi-view that was up there. That's the SRT feed that you can take and convert to NDI with a CPU if you have a need to do NDI on the LAN. There is also a new camera coming from Zcam that is NDI native, so you can also go native from the camera itself. We haven't yet done the full integration on that, but that should be something you can pick up in the winter if NDI HX3 is something that you want.
Okay, thank you. Second question is about lenses. So, what type of lenses can be used in conjunction with the AIR camera?
Yeah, so with a micro four thirds model, just about any micro four thirds lens on the planet you can fly. There's some of the big, like 600 millimeter, where they're super heavily weighted on the front that you won't fly. But if they fit within the size and weight specifications, you can fly them on the robot. That's one of the things, again, that I love about the AIR One as opposed to a traditional PTZ is I can change the lenses. If I need to get something super wide angle where it's in super close to the talent or whatever, or I need some wide angle view from a tight position, I can just swap the lenses out. Or conversely, if I want something a long lens for a particular application, I can also swap that. Again, 4 bolts, you can take off that micro four thirds mount and put on an EF mount and put EF glass on there if you have that. There's also a Sony mount, an E mount from a company called Viltrox that we're in the process of vetting right now. So there's some Sony lenses will also be
Sure.
compatible.
By the way, you have available a full list of recommended compatible lenses available. So if our customers or dealers demand, we can provide this list, and that's it.
Yes, and we're in the process of vetting new lenses all the time. Or if somebody has a particular one that they're interested in, we'd be happy to check it for compatibility, because there are so many options that we literally can't. I have a ton of lenses back up here. I have a ton of lenses back up here on the shelf, but there's only so many we can have in stock. So if you have something particular that you need for an application, definitely reach out and we'll let you know whether it'll work or not.
Sure. Before closing our conversation today, we are very close to the IBC. So I know that you have a booth at IBC. So I invite
Yes.
our viewers to come and see you and touch the product with your hands. And also, maybe also to announce that we have the camera also available at Cartoni booth. They have a new lifto, which is a vertical mount, remotely controlled, that can be used in conjunction with our camera. So the camera will be visible also at Cartoni booth, as you see here the number of the stand.
Yeah, really, I would encourage people, anybody that's at IBC, it's a fantastic show. It's my favorite show. Like, we go to NAB every year and we've won a bunch of Product of the Year awards and that, but I really like IBC. The crowd is really good there. Very knowledgeable folks. And, for our robot, there's nothing like going hands-on with it. Really, you get a full, a real feeling for what it's like to operate it once you put your hands on the iPad and feel that kind of organic control. It's a very, very powerful tool for storytelling.
Absolutely, yes. Okay, thank you, Nick, for being with us and attending our webinar. I think we have been exhaustive in presenting all the features of the camera. The camera is great; it's a great product, and I do believe it has a lot of application from top tier usage. We forgot to mention that, of course, the camera can be connected also baseband, not just SRT. So for some application,
yes,
it can be used also this way. So it's not mandatory to have SRT and remote. So it's a very flexible tool, and I do believe it can be a very successful product also for our customers. Thank you for attending, and see you at IBC, of course.
Thank you for having us.
Ciao. See you soon.
Ciao.